But
when is the time to talk about Emilia Perez?
yeah, can we talk about Emilia Perez?
Can I
I think it's a good point. I think it's a good point. Actually, no. I'll start this off. So I haven't actually vocally said it, talked much about Emilia Perez on the podcast at all. So I think because I was sort of saving it for Oscar season. As someone who probably like most doesn't really resonate or like the film, I genuinely think it is a bad film. I am genuinely fascinated. I really want to hear you guys' thoughts. I'm genuinely fascinated as to what you guys took from the film or
my one's less offensive. Do you want me to go first? My one's less controversial for once.
Okay.
Just real quick. He told me that it was quite exciting. You know, he was excited for it. He met someone in Cannes or something that was involved in it. And I was like, I'm quite excited for it. So I sat down and I watched it on Netflix on the first day, and I was just like, this is like a weird drug lord thing with a musical, and you know, like a sex change is happening halfway through. And you know me, I like movies that take risks. I like movies that risk offending people and do crazy shit for the sake of doing crazy shit, because it's cinema. It's not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be experimental and fun and weird. And so I was like, this is quite creative and it's really unique, and they've taken a bunch of different genres and combined it together, sometimes well, sometimes not so well. The acting was pretty good, you know, especially by Zoe Saldana, and at least, you know, it's a movie with personality. It has personality, it has character, but I came away from it thinking, yeah, it was good. But I didn't think it was going to be nominated for everything, and I think because it has, and it's effectively taken the place of Challengers and June and all the movies I actually love. I'm like, fuck that movie, because there are movies that are so much better that should be in the spots that this film has taken up. But if it wasn't nominated for all of this stuff and it was just a film that was on Netflix as an interesting indie, I probably would have liked it a lot more. And just gone,
I fully agree with Panwa. Like, that's literally my opinion as well. It's like, I thought it was, I don't think it's groundbreaking. Like, I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I thought it was very innovative. It takes risks. It works most of the time. Sometimes it fails like very dramatically, but I actually kind of liked that it failed dramatically sometimes because it's something new and it's something exciting. I didn't know literally anything about it going in. I knew that it was a Mexican musical. That's all I knew, with Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez. That's all I knew. And to be honest, I'm going to call out some of the hypocrisy on the internet, because I saw this film, and Pano is very, very right in what he's saying, because I went to Cannes where it premiered, and the response was super positive. Like, I was there after the premiere, and people really enjoyed it overall. Then I saw it at BFI, also pretty positive. Then it came out and it started getting like a little, I don't know if you remember the whole timeline of like the hate the film got, but when it came out, it wasn't like, it didn't come out and the next day everybody's like, oh, this is a piece of garbage, what is it, etc. It started like building up and building up and building up to the point where like now people are saying it's this like hot piece of trash that is like sweeping everything, where it's really not. Like, I think I agree. I wouldn't nominate it for quite a few things if it's like, it's not in my top 10 of the year, but it's not actually that far. And I think it's just like a pretty good film, and I think the public opinion on it and the perception just continued building and building and building until now it's like this thing where people think it's horrible. And I'm actually more curious to hear your thoughts about why you really didn't like it.
Real quick before you give your 2 cents, I think part of the hate comes from, again, hypocrisy of movie-going audiences. People go, how many times have me and you sat on this couch and go, we really don't like a certain film because it felt so inoffensive, because it felt so safe and so stale. And finally, here comes along a movie that is potentially going to offend people. And then it was like, oh my God, it's like Eternals, right? No, Marvel fans are like, you know what the thing with Eternals?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we want something new. Finally, they make Eternals, go, oh no, we don't want it. So it's like, what do you want?
I don't even see it from like an offensive perspective, to be honest. I see it more from just like a experimental filmmaking perspective. It takes risks both in its plot
and creatively,
just about what it is, but also it's a musical, but also creatively it does a lot of, like, I'm not saying they work all the time. In fact, like half the time they probably don't, but you can't not admit that a lot of the stuff it tries is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't maybe succeed, but there is really brilliance in there.
And also, it's been damaged by people over politicizing movies.
Okay,
which is the whole conversation.
Dylan is like,
okay. I hear you, but I hear you both.
Yeah.
I agree. I think, of course, the film wouldn't have got hated on nearly as much if it wasn't nominated for so much, if it hadn't got so much critical acclaim from the Academy, etc. People wouldn't think to look twice back at this film. The way I experienced this film was I missed it at BFI Festival. I didn't hear a lot from it. I heard some people saying it was all right. Some people didn't like it, but very few people had spoken about it. Me and Clara sat down finally one night. This is before it started receiving a lot of hate. Sat down, watched it on Netflix. I remember watching some of the musical numbers in this scene and rolling my eyes and genuinely thinking, what the fuck is this? In terms of being a musical, I don't think it is at all in any way groundbreaking. I think the writing for the songs are bad.
Yeah, I agree.
They are straight up bad.
I think the music is bad. Like
the music is awful. It's
bad
so bad.
Music. I agree.
It's really bad. It doesn't have any musical tissue whatsoever. I remember watching it and the credits started to roll and I literally turned to Clara and I literally was like, was it me or was that bad? Like, was that actually bad? And here was I thinking like Clara was gonna be like, what are you talking about? That would I really enjoyed it, but no. Also, like, I think it was bad. But even still, I was like, okay, that was interesting. I woke up the next morning and I was just like, I thought it was bad, but I didn't think it was like the worst film ever. I woke up the next morning and I thought about it more and I was like, what the fuck was that film? Anyways, didn't think twice about it afterwards. Wasn't really good at planning on returning to it. And now, obviously, all of this controversy has happened, and a lot of the things are obviously incredibly just bad. Obviously, I won't actually go into detail because I actually don't want to talk about the controversy from because that takes away from the movie.
It's a very difficult film to speak about because it's so like it's so divisive purely in like people's opinion on its just the depth it has and the weight it has. But it's also so controversial because of all these
the behind the scenes stuff.
So I think it's important, as you said, we gotta separate
the art from the artist.
Separate the art from the artist. Or the making or any of that. We watch it as a film and that's it.
100%. I am really interested with you guys when you say the film takes risks. What risks does it take? Because in my eyes, it takes no risks whatsoever. It is as if you gave a primary school student a creative writing task to write a piece on like a trans person that involves some kind of crime. The crime elements don't work whatsoever. The trans elements or this story about a person transitioning doesn't work. It doesn't focus anything on that transition. So I'm talking from a character perspective. I don't understand the character. I don't. Forget about, whether or not it's offensive to the trans community. Like, sure. But like, I'm talking about the film specifically. The characters are not developed. They are not fleshed out characters. The performances, I think Zoe Saldana is great. And I think I really like Zoe Saldana, and to see her be so passionate about a film is you can't help but love her. But the film I like that she's representing or the whatever, I don't think this is it. I'm glad that she's able to be so passionate and so enthusiastic about it, but I really don't. I don't see much merit to the film, even the filmmaking. To be honest, it's a musical. The musical aspects are shit. The cinematography as well.
I like the cinematography. The cinematography is actually some of the most risk-taking cinematography.
Go.
Okay.
I think it tries so many things in terms of composition and framing and the movement of the camera. And I think I will say this for the record. It's a personal opinion. It's not like a critique. I don't think it's a good-looking film. But I think they do. I'm 10. They try very unique things with the lighting. I don't think it works for me, but
they tried.
It is a different looking film. But to answer your question, I mean, I can go in depth with like specific examples. I also saw it like 5 months ago. But the biggest risk it takes is that it's a dramatic musical about a Mexican cartel head transitioning. That's already like that logline is like.
Can I
what the fuck?
Maybe my last thing about this film, because I really don't want to talk about and go into that rabbit hole of over politicizing films. I'm not going to talk about that. I will say that I think if this film had a personality, if this Emilia Pérez was a person, Emilia Pérez is the arrogant, ignorant, narcissistic attention seeker who walks into every room and wants to be the center of attention. And no matter how much and how hard you try, you can't help but talk about them afterwards. And that's exactly what we're doing now. So for people who don't like Emilia Pérez, you're allowing the film to succeed actually by having a 45-minute rant about it online because the film has now succeeded. It is won.
I honestly think we need more films like Emilia Pérez.
I do too.
I really do.
We need more narcissistic, arrogant.
We do.
The film is unfortunately going to be remembered, but unfortunately, it is not going to be remembered for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I can't.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't want to. I can't agree with the idea that you can sit down and talk about the film, and it succeeds. It doesn't succeed to me. Sure, it's racked up a lot of nominations, but for what? Why has the Academy nominated the film? Because it thinks it's being progressive. Because it takes risk. It talks about so many different aspects, but doesn't have a clue of how to develop or handle any of them. Mm-hmm. So all of it.
I agree, and there is a lot of why the Academy nominated it is because of political reasons. Yeah. So that's why this whole situation is so complicated, because it's difficult to even talk about the quality of the film without talking about the political aspects of it, because the political aspects actually affect the way we perceive the quality, even if we separate it. So it's a very but I think trying to separate myself from all of that, I always go back to the very first time I saw it without knowing any of this, and I didn't know what the film was about. I saw it at 8 a.m. and I was like, this is really cool. That's genuinely, that would sum up my thoughts. I was like, I don't love it, I don't hate it, but it's really cool, and I want more of it.
100. When I watched it for the first time, I thought I want to like this. I'm interested in the ideas. Like to throw into the mix all these crazy ideas is admittedly a bold thing to do. And of course, whenever I want to sit down and watch a film, I want to be riveted by what I'm saying. I want to see new things, right? But I just think that the manner and the way in which the film goes about it is just
wrong.
It's just wrong. It's almost as if you're doing all these things
to hide the fact that you actually have a shit film.
It is ultimately a shit.
Can I just say, I actually clocked this just then. We were making this stupid social network thing at the beginning. Emilia Perez is Justin Timberlake as Sean Parker. Basically, he founded Napster, is doing a bunch of that. And what does he say at the restaurant? He goes, and I pissed a lot of people off. And that's the whole point. The guy's just a shit house. He's just a shit stirrer. And Emilia Perez, do you really think the director cares that we're talking about this right now? He's probably laughing his ass off.
I do think we see pretty much eye to eye. I think maybe me and maybe Panwa as well, but I'm more like a glass half full type of guy in terms of the film, whereas you're more like a glass half empty, but we have the same glass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, move on.
Dylan is like, I think my glass is a little bit more fucking empty than yours.
I don't think there's any liquid in the glass. I think it was never full. I don't think it was ever used. I mean, look, we could go on about Emilia Perez. I think it's just like I said, I think people wouldn't be talking about this as if it was one of the worst films ever made if it hadn't got so
much love.
I agree.
For sure. It is not the worst film ever made. No. But I'm sorry, and to be honest, if you should take away anything from this whole Emilia Perez popularity, it is that the Oscars are really not a true reflection of what the film is.
Oh my god,
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to Best Picture.
Got 13
oh my god,
nominations, right? Yeah. It is not. It really is not statistically.
It has the same as like Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
The other thing I'd say is watch it. Like honestly, so many people don't watch it.
Exactly.
And, watch it, and if you hate it, you hate it. If you like it, you like it. Like
I feel like a lot of people hate on the movie before they've even watched it.
Can I say? I was at work. I was walking around the office, and I had a few people because they know that I talk about film and whatever, and they were like, "Dylan, have you seen Emilia Perez?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Is it really that bad?" And I'm like,
"Watch it.
You know, watch it, make your own mind up." I thought it was really bad, but like, go and check it out and make your own mind up. And then I was walking away, and they were like, man to woman. Legit, they've literally only seen like that scene. Do you see what I mean?
I actually hate that clip went viral.
Yes.
That really pissed me off because it takes away from the context of the fact that that's supposed to be a campy scene. That's the last thing I'm going to say, and then we can move on. But the fact that you can clip fucking anything from any movie and like make it look silly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a bit of a silly song, but it's supposed to be a silly song.
So dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah. Anyways.